Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome in, everyone. We'll give everyone a few seconds to bounce in this afternoon. We're crossing time zones. Let's see, we've got had a few more people coming in. I think we've got enough to probably get started. We're a minute after time. So good morning, good afternoon. Thanks you guys for joining us for part two of our Ease of ROI webinar series. Today, we're focused on strategic business planning and marketing for growth. We're going to do things a little bit differently today as we kick the session off. Today, to keep you guys on your toes, we're going to start with a poll question. So again, we're talking about business planning. So how prepared do you guys feel to implement Tyrannus as part of your 2026 plan? Is it somewhat prepared, maybe very prepared? If we could launch that poll question, we'll see what that looks like and get you guys to answer.
And it's not in there.
It's not in there. All right. Well, all right. This is what I need you to think about then. As we kind of shift and go through, how prepared do you guys feel for implementing Tyrannus as part of your 26 season, right? Is it, hey, I'm feeling really good as I'm sitting here in this webinar right now. Maybe I'm somewhat prepared, or holy cow, I'm here because I'm not prepared at all. It's almost the end of November. 26 is coming fast. It's right around the corner. But retailers who win next season are the ones who are planning now, right? So Tyrannus helps teams move faster, plan smarter, and focus on the right growers. Today, what we're going to do is look at the strategies that drive that progress. You guys know that Tyrannus gives you imagery and insights, right? But the real impact, I think, is how you turn that into growth. And when we talk about growth, I mean planned growth, intentional growth, and maybe more importantly, repeatable growth. Let's get into how that happens. My name's Jennifer Stutz, and I'm the customer experience lead here at Tyrannus, and I'm going to be your moderator for today's session. A few housekeeping items before we get started. If you joined us for a webinar before or part of the product series, if questions come up, there's a little Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Drop your question in there, and we'll make sure that we work those in as we go. And at the end of our session, we have been approved for CEU credit, so we'll do a drawing for some Amazon gift cards as a thank you for joining us today. So strategic business planning, what does that mean? I feel like it could be all over the board, but when I think about strategic business planning, it's how you guys as retailers are preparing for the upcoming season. How do you prepare? How do you align your teams? How do you structure your programs, or even think about identifying the right growers? And as we talk about all of those steps, right, as we're walking down that path, how does each and every step connect back to ROI? I think that's really important. To make our session practical today, we're going to try and break our conversation up into two parts. First, we're going to talk about business planning and implementation. Then we'll shift gears and we'll talk about marketing for growth. To walk us through this, guys, I'm really excited to introduce our guest today. We're joined by Nate Eitzman, agronomist and CCA with Asmus Farm Supply. Nate's a leader in agronomy strategy and has really been key in integrating Acre Protect into the Asmus business model. We're also joined today by Michelle Wigger, who's the Director of Marketing at Asmus. And Michelle's been key in building the Acre Protect brand and really creating an identity for Asmus that growers recognize and trust. And we also have some of my teammates on with us today. We have Sarah Rang, she's our Director of Marketing. Sarah helps turn strategy into co-branded marketing that drives adoption at ROI. She works with teams just like yours. And we have Carlene Wolf. She's our customer success representative. Carlene also works closely with retailers, and she supports them from planning through onboarding and in-season action. We're going to go ahead and jump in and shift to what we're all here to talk about: strategic business planning and implementation. We've got a poll question. I want you guys to think about this as we're having the discussion with Nate and Carlene and Michelle and Sarah. As you think about business planning, right? What's your biggest barrier to building a strong business plan with Tyrannus? Here we go. We've got a poll up. Is the barrier aligning internal teams? Is it identifying the right growers, right? Like, how do I pick the growers? Maybe it's building the structure of the business plan and that overwhelms you. I see a lot of people kind of punching in that it's limited time or resources. In some of our other webinars and the product webinars, one of the things that we focus on a lot is there's only so many hours in the day. How do you best spend those hours? Or is it showing ROI to help justify those decisions? We've still got some answers coming in. Um, we'll share here in a second. We'll give you a few more seconds to pop your answers in. I kind of see them all over the board a little bit. Identifying growers, nobody seems to think that that's a problem, but it's internal teams and building the structure and the timing. Limited resources seems to be a really big one. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results with you. So you should be able to see the results here, and you can kind of see we're a little bit all over the board, but it seems you guys feel really confident about identifying the right growers, which is fantastic. So, like many of you seem to be facing a lot of the same challenges, and you seem to be doing really well in some of the other areas. What I'd like to do is turn it over to our panel and kick this discussion off. We walked through, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Nate, who's our guest. Nate, when we think about setting the stage and we talk about strategic alignment, can you tell us what initially attracted Asmus Farm Supply to adopt Tyrannus technology?
Yeah, so I'll steal one of Tyrannus's coin phrases. Leaf level insights really jumps out to me because the level of detail that the images show all the way down to an insect on a leaf, and the fact that we have that level of insight over the entire field was very intriguing. So, the technology that showed me was the first bit that drove us to give Tyrannus a try.
That's fantastic. So, kind of thinking about that, how did you determine that Tyrannus was the right fit for your long-term business strategy?
Yep. Once we implement it and we're able to use it for a season, and we got the as advertised imagery, and we saw how that could impact growers' decisions, retailers' decisions throughout the season. We got these not only once, but we had 6 different missions that flew and showed us a level of detail throughout the season with monitoring that we couldn't match any other way. Once we saw that perform throughout the season, it started opening our eyes to things that we could provide to our farmers, to our customers, and the information that we as a retailer would gain from this to help drive decisions in the future.
Guys, remember, we're setting the stage here with regard to strategic alignment and what that means, and specifically what that means for Osmus Farm Supply. As part of setting that stage, Nate, can you tell us what Acre Protect is?
Yeah, Acre Protect is our white label brand name for the offerings by Tyrannus. We use um, the Tyrannus platform, the software, the drones, the images, all of that is still included. We created our own name, Acre Protect, and the reason we chose that name was we feel that what we offer with Tyrannus is we offer the grower the chance to protect that investment. They've invested a lot in every acre of that field, so Tyrannus is out there giving us all this information throughout the season to let us know if something's wrong, if we need to make a pass, if we need to do something, take action. It's giving us information to help protect that investment.
That's a great description of the brand. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and switch over to Sarah. Remember, Sarah's our marketing director here at Tyrannus. Sarah, can you give us a high-level overview of the marketing services that Tyrannus offers and really how Acre Protect that Nate just talked about is a part of those services if you think about working with not just Osmus, but other retailers that would be joining us here on the call?
Sure. So at Tyrannus, it's our goal to make marketing as simple and impactful for our retail partners as we can. So when you work with us, it's 100% complimentary as part of your partnership. So we call that Partner Studio. So we know retail teams are stretched really thin, and that's why we step in to provide some turnkey support. So think about, what does that include? That is visual identity, like the Acre Protect brand, logo design, landing pages, social content, brochures, field signage, even video shoots. All of those things are customized to your brand, not ours. So Acre Protect is a really good example of that. Asmus built a full recognizable program, and it's a way that it's packaged in a way that feels really local. So just a tip for retailers, if you already have a program name or a service bundle, bring that to us. We can elevate it into a really polished and consistent brand for your growers, and they'll instantly recognize it.
Thanks, Sarah. And we're going to be talking to Michelle a little bit later, who's the director of marketing at Asmus, with regard to how to integrate and where those pieces kind of come in. But Nate, I'm going to shift back to you here for a second. And, from a retail perspective, we're here today to talk about business strategy and developing that. And how do you incorporate Tyrannus in that? From your perspective, how does Acre Protect tie into those broader business planning goals and really the vision for growth that Asmus has overall?
Yeah, I'd say one of the biggest pieces of that is the quickness that we get real-time information from the fields. And accurate information as well. So we have a much better feel than just talking to a few growers or going out and looking at a few fields. We can see thousands of acres when these images are flown and have an idea in our whole trade area what's going on, and we know a lot quicker than we would otherwise. So we can make decisions if we need to adjust something. Plus, we can see what's working. Maybe there's no problems, and we can validate that things are working well. So I would say that's a big part of it, but just the accuracy and the timeliness of getting all that information.
No, I think that's fantastic. If I focus on specifically your vision for growth, I'm sure, not just Osmus Farm Supply, but other retailers that are on this call are sitting back and thinking about where they are in terms of, the economical climate that we're in with farming, and they're maybe doing a head scratch going, man, how do I grow my business, and how do I use Tyrannus to help grow my business? So as you guys are planning and creating that strategy for 2026, how does Tyrannus fit into that with regard to your vision for growth? And we'll get into how you segment growers, and we'll get into how you communicate and do those types of things. But really just kind of high level, Nick, could you give an example of, hey, Osmus wants to grow their business. How are you going to incorporate Tyrannus into that plan to help you grow your business?
Yeah, I think I mean, you can get into a lot of some specific examples. And maybe I'll do that so we've used it for respray scenarios. It's a challenge for a grower, for a retailer, for anybody providing this service to know there's the need to respray, but do we need to respray the whole field? What do we really have going on out there? And you can't realistically scout that with a person and make those decisions. There's just not enough time. You either spray it all or you don't spray any. So if you look at that type of example where we can spray just what's needed and we have data to back that, growers happy, we're all more efficient. So that's kind of a micro look at it. When you look at the macro level, it's things like that though that give us more efficiency, that give us more confidence in the recommendations we're making. It gives us validation for the recommendations we're making, and it gives a grower validation. And when you couple all those things together, it helps you grow your business because they see what you're doing is working. And also it gives that grower more to think about. Even if there wasn't any major problems in the field, there was things throughout the year that the Tyrannus missions picked up that could be improved. Maybe it's stand count, maybe it's some nutrient deficiencies, but then they come back to us as their trusted retailer with that data, with questions on how we can improve that.
I'm hearing some key phrases in there and I love it. I'm hearing efficiency. I'm hearing growth. I'm hearing communication with your growers, right? Actual touch points. And when you're going to your growers, you're bringing information to them, being proactive instead of having your growers come back to you and being, oh, I didn't know, right? You're not reactive. You're the guy that's coming out there with a solution to your customer. So I hear a lot of ways that Osmus is using this as a tool to really try and grow their business and align it into their plan. Let's shift gears again and switch over to Carlene, right? Remember, Carlene's our customer success representative, and I think that she works pretty closely with the Osmus team. Carlene, from your side, what does early alignment look like when a retail partner like Osmus decides to implement Tyrannus and they're all in and they're ready to go? From your perspective, what's that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. The earlier that we get started, the better everything kind of flows, the more smooth everything is in season. And there are a lot of turning pieces on the Triana side that we're trying to help get everything set in stone before the planning season comes around. So it's really important to have that early commitment. This year we are launching our new onboarding, which includes 3 preseason meetings. The one is kind of what we just heard Nate talk about. It's the business planning meeting. Where do you want Osmus to go? How can Tyrannus help you get there? The other one's kind of your grower strategy meeting. What growers are you looking to put this onto? And I think we'll hear that a little later in the segmentation process. And then trainings. So the earlier we have the commitment and the alignment with you as our retail partner, the more that we have time to plan these meetings, get them set in stone, get your team on board. And we're always happy to travel as a CS team and get out there and in person and field with you guys. So just having that early alignment really gets the acre commitment for one for Osmus, and 2, it helps everything on the back end flow smoothly.
Am I frozen? Are we okay?
You're
You're
back now.
unfrozen now. I
All
was about
right.
to jump in.
All right, very good. So we heard Sarah talk about marketing services, right? We really provide a high level of marketing services. Carlene jumped in and really talked about customer success and how we have that end-to-end support, not just in the beginning of the season, but in the middle of the season and at the end of the season. And we'll talk a little bit later when we drag Michelle into this conversation about a program that we've got going on called Loyal to the Leaf, right? You see our backgrounds above us here. And we really, really want to deep dive in with regard to that. And that's another offering that's part marketing and part customer success, but really retail focused and grower driven as we think about helping you wrap up a season. So it's beginning, middle, end. We are your partner, lockstep with you every which way throughout the season. Michelle, I am going to drag you into this conversation a little bit. And as we think about, setting the stage and strategic alignment and business planning, I alluded to a little bit earlier in the kickoff conversation here. When does marketing from a retail perspective, from Osmus perspective, plug into that planning process?
So once Nate's met with Carlene and her team and we have a plan for the year, that's kind of when I step in and we develop a rough content calendar for the whole season. And from there, I work with Sarah to develop items and get those loaded and get them developed so that I have them on hand. And then we also work with our team. We've been through this for a few years, so each year it changes who our target customers are. And then that allows me the time as the year develops for those communications to be there and have them on hand and have a uniform decision. It's all kind of created at one time. It's consistent throughout the season. Going back to your poll question, it also addresses 2 of those things that seem to be a high content of timing and scheduling. And then you don't know when those are going to go out yet, but you have them developed so you can hit them on the fly as the season determines. And then also availability. I have those on hand so that if I have another big project that's already in the works and I don't necessarily have time to do that, they're already developed and ready to go. So marketing has the same aspect and the same amount of time that goes into it. Just doing it earlier and doing it as soon as our agronomy team has it set helps me address some of those issues.
Doing it earlier, I'm going to ask you a softball question. As you think about 2026, right? It really is right around the corner. Are you planning from a marketing perspective for 2026 right now?
Yes.
Yes. And How does that early work from your vision create a consistent story for your teams and growers? I think you alluded to it a little bit already, but really kind of, hone in on that. Hey, you're doing it now, you're doing it early. How does it help your team?
It helps our team because it's the same message. I'm sure all of you know that if you write an email today and you write an email a month from now, it may be worded a little bit different or a little um, have a little bit different tone to it. So having that all developed at one time and working with Tyrannus to have that um, it has a uniform feeling, graphically, uh, grammarly, go ahead and goes together.
That's fantastic. And we will get into the collaboration piece with regard to how Tyrannus and Asmus collaborates. And really that flows not just to Asmus, but to all of the retail partners that we have that are listening on the call. Let's shift gears a little bit, guys, and let's talk about building the plan, right? That's kind of what we're here to learn about. And Nate, I'm going to shift back to you. And you've touched on it a little bit already, but can you tell me how Tyrannus fits into your annual business planning cycle? Kind of like how I asked Michelle with marketing. Are you doing it now? Is your plan to start in January or February? Where do we fit into your business planning?
Yeah, well, I would say that we're always planning for next year. It doesn't stop until that year's over. So, you know, after planting, you're thinking about things that went right, went wrong, what can we do different next year? So all season long, you're building that plan or at least thinking towards that plan. And Tyrannus is no different. As it fits into everything else that we're doing, when we get those stand count missions or weeds, we think about what we're seeing. How could we use this different next year? What did growers value from those insights each time they were passed throughout the season? So we're always trying to think about that as it's happening, right after it happens, on how we can utilize that information for the next year. And this gives us another level of data to put towards those plans. It's not just what we're hearing from the growers, what we're seeing driving down the road. We have some better data to add to thoughts for next year.
So you're always planning, you're always thinking, and you're always being proactive and forward looking. I love that. Tell me where Acre Protect fits into those early conversations, right? If you're always thinking about it and always trying to be proactive and forward moving for your customers, how do you weave in Acre Protect in there?
Yeah. So when I'm talking about always planning, that's happening. And then when we get to this time of year, um, it probably starts late summer and then maybe pauses during harvest, and then here in the later in the fall, that's when the building that plan for the growers actually starts taking place, and you start involving growers in that plan for next year. And that's where Acre Protect comes in. It's not something we want to wait and talk about with them when the season's knocking on the door. We want to talk about it now with their overall program and share with them what we saw on their fields last year, what we could do as a business partner to help improve that, or what we think we're doing well. So it becomes, and I know I've said this before, but it helps become a validation point for things we're doing or something that tells us we need to improve, and we can build that with the grower when we're talking about their plan for next year right now.
I was just going to say, you being Osmus and probably every other retailer on this call, you're probably having end of season conversations with your customers right now. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, yeah.
Okay.
And some of those start from the combine. They have time, so they'll call, and that's when end of season stuff really starts happening. And quickly now we're gonna move into next year, but the recap is happening now.
So as you think about those conversations that maybe start in the combine, that's kind of a real nitty gritty example, right? So you're out, you're combine riding with somebody, and all of a sudden things are really, really good, and then the monitor goes, right? There's a dip in yield. Are you able to use Tyrannus to help have conversation with growers before they get into the combine to help them understand what things are going to look like for next season, or what they could potentially expect, or when they hit that maybe dip in yield? Oh yeah, man, guys, look, we did this weed thing and it didn't work, or we should have and we could have, right? Does it help with those conversations?
It does, yeah. It's good surprises are great, bad surprises are really bad. So if we have some information that we've seen throughout the season that there's a problem, it's way better to get in front of that grower and have that conversation about, hey, what did we do wrong here? How can we help fix this in the future? So they already know that there's going to be an issue, but they also know that we're looking to fix it. We're there to try to help them. So maybe we couldn't fix it this year, and that's certainly the case a lot of times. But if they know that they're going to see something out there that's not going to make them happy, but they already know that we're thinking about fixing that for next year, it's a much better combine ride.
And again, that goes into building the business plan. How are you incorporating Tyrannus into 2026 and into those conversations with your growers? I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but 2026 for Osmus is going to be your fourth season with us. What did internal alignment look like in year one? How did you get your teams comfortable with using the platform? How did you get buy-in with your internal teams? Engagement, right? How did you get them excited about incorporating Tyrannus into that Osmus workflow?
Internal alignment in year one was not good. Um, so I don't want to sugarcoat this for anybody looking how they can insert this into their business because, like anything new, it comes with challenges. I would say alignment for management was aligned, but when it came to our sales team, there was a little more trepidation. They were intrigued by the insights and the level of detail and the potential, but getting them to pass that on to their grower was a little bit of a challenge and not one that we didn't expect. Like I said, with anything new, there comes challenges, and we have to learn how to get through those. So as we moved into year two, we saw much different approach from the sales team, and a lot of that was the insights, the information that we saw from the first year and showed to our sales team. Hey, look what you could see here. Look at this throughout the year. You're seeing this, you're seeing these progressions. We're seeing something we missed. And once they saw that and we could show that to our sales team, they could show that to their customers, that's when things really started to click. And then it's different ideas from everybody on how we can use this and from customers as well. So it took some time to see it. I would say the technology um, kind of sold itself. It just took time to show it to everyone.
The proof is in the pudding. I appreciate the honesty of your answer right there, right? Tyrannus makes things easy, but you have to engage with it, right, to be able to see the value that it offers, not just in the business planning, but also for your growers. So your honest answer is actually very refreshing, Nate. Carlene, if I shift gears to you from that customer success perspective, where you're working with the teams, you're helping onboarding, you're helping training, you're helping, from beginning to end. Can you give an example or give us an idea of what drives strong engagement in that first season to really get teams interested and want to use it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, one of the biggest things about getting the engagement in that first year is just knowing that the retail partner we're working with has that full team backing, not just the RAM in the field. So in this case, Nate has Judd, but he also has the behind the scenes support of the CS team. He has you, Jen, as the customer experience, and then Sarah again in marketing. So knowing that whatever challenges come up and that there is a solution that we can find and we can help as soon as possible get that, kind of helps with that confidence level and helps them see that they can for sure get on there and see what they need to see and use that data accurately.
I think that's perfect. Again, very, very honest. We're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about segmentation and implementation. And if I go back to the poll question, I don't think anyone put in there that they've got a problem with regard to figuring out what growers are a fit for the program or how they want to incorporate those growers into their plan. So we won't spend a ton of time here, but Nate, I do want to ask, as we think about segmentation and implementation, picking growers, how do your agronomy teams segment your growers when you're deciding who's the best fit for Acre Protect?
Yep, and some of this has been learned on the go a little bit, but we have our own internal customer segmentation process that we use for other things as well, marketing and sales initiatives. But the two matrices that we use are um, willingness to partner, loyalty is one, and the other one is information seeking. So the customers that have shown the most interest in Tyrannus that we've had the best retention with are those that are high on that information seeking matrix. Information driven customers are are the segment that we have targeted most with Tyrannus and we've had the best retention with. And then I would say there is another segment that's not within that matrix at all, but large farmers who cover large geography have shown tremendous interest and need for something like Tyrannus with just the vast number of miles between some of their fields and giving them an idea of what's going on in different little segments of their big farming operation.
I think that that's perfect. I want to kind of shift gears a little bit. We're going to transition to ROI and continuous planning, but one thing I do want to touch on is we think about, segmenting the growers and picking the growers. And we've talked about it not just in this webinar but in others, right? We're in a really tight economy right now. Whether it's in agriculture, whether it's just in general. What's that first conversation look like with a grower, right? Could you give us an example of what that looks like? You've picked your right grower, you've gone through your segmenting. Those are hard conversations to have, whether you're in the combine or at the desk. You bring a six-pack of beer to that conversation. Those are tough to have. What does that look like for your team when you're sitting down with the grower, trying to explain the value that Tyrannus can bring within that Asmus business plan?
Yeah, it is a tough conversation. You're asking for more of a spend from them, and that's a challenge as you alluded to right now. But one way to look at it that I think hits home with a lot of growers is how much are you investing in that acre of corn? Um, you've got $800, $900, whatever that number is, invested into that acre of corn. This is a very, very small investment in comparison to try to protect that investment like we had talked about earlier. It's I wouldn't call it insurance, but it's a level to help you protect that $800 that you already have invested in that corn crop. So I think we have to look at it as a different way rather than an additional spend and additional input. It's a different level of protection that they're adding to that investment.
I really like that. As we continue to think about ROI, Nate, growers are very concerned about ROI. I'm sure Osmus is very concerned about ROI, as are the retailers on this call. What happens when you lean in, you follow the plan that you've created, right? And you use Tyrannus as a core part of that strategy. In your mind, what happens?
Yeah, it's so it's this is a service that we're selling and we're not really selling it for a profit. So it's not a black and white ROI for the retailer, at least for our business model. But where I do see ROI is we're looking through that field with that grower all season long. We're seeing what worked, we're seeing what didn't work, and the grower is very, very mindful of that. And they're looking, okay, it might not be till next year, but they're looking for, I want to fix that problem. I want to do better here and here. And that's when the ROI starts coming in. There could be additional product sales. There's also an increased value in the relationship that you have with that farmer, which keeps them coming in your door, which is a priceless ROI. So those are some of the things that I really see that it might take a few years before you can really start penciling some of that back in as a profit, but it's there if you trust in the process.
I think that's perfect. I want to make sure we've got some time for your teammate from Michelle to answer some questions. So guys, we're going to shift gears to marketing. I would remind you, if anyone in the audience has any questions for Nate about strategy, segmenting growers, or Sarah with regard to white labeling, drop those in the chat. We'll make sure that we get to those. I don't have any questions yet, so we're gonna march on, and we are going to shift gears to marketing for growth. You know, we've walked through, and I think Nate and Sarah and Michelle and Carly everyone gave us a really high level idea of the pieces that help make a program work behind the scenes. But as we talk about strategy and as we talk about business planning, you know, strategy all by itself in a bubble doesn't drive growth until it's communicated. It's got to be, you know, it's got to be pushed out into the universe some way, somehow. There has to be a message. And this is where we're going to bring Michelle in, we're going to bring Sarah in, and we're going to talk about, you know, creating that message and what that message looks like. But before we do that, we are going to do another poll question, and we will have this one working for you. We're going to come back to that first one at the end of our session to kind of see after the webinar how you feel about business planning for 26. But when we think about marketing and putting that strategy, putting that messaging out into the world, right? What part of your marketing approach needs the most improvement? Is it consistent messaging? You know, Michelle talked about that. Is it branding new programs and putting some things together? Maybe it's educating your growers, measuring, right? How do you measure the impact? What's your ROI of your marketing effort? Maybe you don't really know as you sit here today. We'll give you guys a few seconds to fill that in, and then we will kick off with our Q&A session with marketing. There's no wrong answer here. Keep them coming. I kind of see them all over the board, which is kind of what I expected, and that is okay. You're doing great. We're going to end the poll here in a few seconds. You guys still seem to be engaged and hanging with me, so thank you. We'll end the poll. We'll share the results. And you can kind of see there's a little bit all over the board. Consistent messaging is a problem. Branding new programs doesn't seem to be too difficult. Grower education, right? It's that grower outreach, a little bit of what Nate was talking about. How do you have those conversations with your growers? What does that look like? Measuring the impact, right? We go back to ROI. That's still very, very difficult. So all over the board, no answer was a wrong answer, but thank you for sharing. And we're going to kick off with Michelle. You know, Asmus built Acre Protect, and it's more than just a technology initiative, Michelle. We've talked about it. Nate's talked about it. You and Sarah have talked about it. It's really become a very recognizable brand within your retail organization and for your customers. So to you, as we talk about Acre Protect and branding, right? Marketing, go-to-market strategy with all of this marketing stuff. Michelle, after rolling out your own branded program powered by Tyrannus, how did your internal teams respond to this? Again, I know, Nate said in the very beginning, it was, engagement was difficult, but from a marketing perspective, when you have this brand that you're creating, tell me about the ingestion of that internally with your teams.
So we did it mid-season. We white labeled our program and we announced it internally, really right after planting almost, which wasn't ideal for announcing that to customers. So we took that time frame between when we announced it internally to when we were going to announce it kind of at combine time, prepping for this season, to develop materials. Sarah was extremely helpful in that. Including a video shoot where we have 3 videos that we can use to educate our customers on and utilize for marketing this coming season. I would encourage anybody that's looking to do something similar to really utilize that Tyrannus program for that. One question we had internally that came out, kind of going back to what Nate said, is that first year our agronomists were like a little bit slow in it. One of their questions was, well, what's the difference? Why did we do this? Isn't this going to cause more confusion? This allows us to have that consistent messaging as partners come in with Tyrannus, that everything falls under Acre Protect, and there's a consistency to it, and it offers us an opportunity to word things that it seems a little bit more exclusive to AFS, and allows us to have a little bit more control over that wording and having it uniform throughout.
So thinking about that messaging, I'm kind of excited to hear that, right? Let's build on to that a little bit. How does that Acre Protect brand, in your opinion, reinforce trust and transparency? Maybe not just with your internal teams, but really with your growers. It's a brand that you've grown. It's a brand that's recognizable. It's that partnership with Taranis. Tell me about the trust and transparency aspect.
So in the technology industry, we've seen a number of companies, come and go. Maybe they're here for a season or two and people have vested into it. And how do we set this apart that that's not what Taranis is? Like you said, this is our 4th year. It's continuing to grow. That partnership with Acre Protect and the materials that we've developed make it easy for us to show that and show that consistency to our customers, to show the value in what they're seeing. Like Nate said, it took a season for people to see, or internally to see what was out there. This new branding allows us to show customers what's out there, and it's local. It's not somebody from 500 miles away that saw a value. It's somebody right here in our area that saw that value of this program. That creates a consistency, that creates a trust with other farmers. We are up to like 3 partnerships now, and they're all running under Acre Protect. And we can create taglines and messaging for those partners. And when you're looking at those partnerships and like our segmentation, we may have customers from multiple segmentations and multiple buying habits that are now receiving different offers about Acre Protect. And having that all consistent keeps it uniform. And again, goes back to that trust and transparency that the message is still the same.
And I won't belabor this too much, but is there something to having that Acre Protect constantly in front of your grower, right? With marketing material and all the things that you're doing, and we'll talk about that in the communication piece here. But having that brand out there all the time and in their face, there's something to that, right?
Yes, what do they always say? You have to see something 3 times before you remember it. So, if you've seen that logo and you're seeing that message, it takes multiple times for them to see that, for them to respond to it.
Michelle, if I tell my son to clean his room, I promise it takes more than 3 times. So you're doing well if it takes your customers 3 times to buy in. You alluded to in a question before, you actually said Sarah at Taranis was wonderful to work with. So Sarah, I'm going to shift gears to you and ask you from the Taranis perspective, the Taranis side of things. What does collaboration look like, whether it's with Michelle's team or with another partner that would be on the call when they decide to white label or launch their own brand?
Yeah, so when a retailer does take that leap and decides to white label the Taranis offering, we treat it like we're building a brand together. So I'll sit down with you, have a conversation on strategy. What message do you want to own? How do you want to stand out? What makes your retail business already unique? I've seen a lot of retailers take a packaging approach where they're bundling this with soil sampling and other precision services, and it's kind of an umbrella. So that's a good tip for retailers. Think of your brand as an umbrella. So Taranis should help strengthen that, not overshadow it. We have conversations, everything from the look and feel. Again, we're that creative extension of your team. So any materials that you heard Michelle talk about and planning in her calendar, we will create those for you. Sometimes it's quick turnaround. Sometimes it's planned out pretty well in advance. And we'll even get into conversations like packaging and pricing. How do you go to market? How do you position this as a value add to your growers?
Thanks, Sarah. Michelle, I'm going to shift back to you, and we're going to kind of turn back to something that you said with regard to partnerships, right? You alluded to that, and you talked about how various partnerships have strengthened your offering to your customers through Acre Protect and through segmentation. And I know that you do some work with Syngenta. I want to kind of unpack that partnership evolution. So sticking with you and sticking with this partnership theme, how have the industry partnerships that you've made, especially like the one with Syngenta, enhanced Acre Protect's visibility and created added value for your customers, your growers?
So our previous 3 seasons that we've done Taranis, we've really gone off that customer and segmentation in targeting customers. If they're looking for that information, they want that high value. Those 3 seasons, that was really our mass targeting effort. When Syngenta decided to partner, that opened up our customers a little bit based off their purchase history. If you're a big Syngenta customer, you got messaging on Taranis. It opened some of that up. As our AFS partners increase, we expand our targeted contact list. And customers that maybe didn't see a value before now see a value because of those partnerships and because of how their purchase history is. It also reduces, like I said before, that one season and gone mentality that maybe somebody has experienced where they've put in this big effort into a program and then within a few seasons it's gone. It helps reduce that and creates that trust that it will be here.
I want to kind of tie back into that partnership, right? How do you decide which partnerships or which campaigns are going to best align with Acre Protect? You alluded to it a little bit, but could you kind of hone in on that and help our audience understand how you guys do that?
So being our 4th year, this is the first year that our marketing is really going to change. This is the first year that we are going to have really 2 segments in our content calendar. We're going to have one set of communications that's going to go out to customers that have been with Taranis. They know what to expect a little bit. Going back to like what Nate said, each year we, review what went well, what maybe didn't go well. One of those things is that now this year, as we look forward, we're going to have a second set of communications that's going to be for either brand new customers or customers that have shown some interest and would be high priority for 27 if they didn't sign up by the deadline for 26. That messaging is going to go out and it's going to be different based on each group, just because it has to be at this point. We have to keep in mind for our customers also that we send out a lot of communication across the board, not just on practices like Taranis, but new products. So when we're looking at that, if we have with Syngenta, we're putting out some marketing items on a Syngenta product, we've developed a banner that's going to go at the bottom of that email that ties it back to Taranis and has a link back to our landing page of the program.
I think that's perfect. Sarah, I'm going to go back to you quickly. I want to make sure we have time to touch on communication and loyal to the leaf. There's a lot to talk about here. But as we think about Taranis and partnerships and integrations and things that we're pulling in, right? How do you help, stitch all of that together and help retailers integrate these partnerships into their story? Can you give me a quick answer on that?
Yeah, sure. So when I think of partnerships, it's really about adding value to the grower, plain and simple. So retailers, when you're thinking about integrating a partner with Taranis, ask yourself, how does this make the grower's life easier and make their decisions easier? I'll give you one example of how we did that. Starts with internal communication. So going back to that business planning and readiness internally, we had and probably most of you retailers on this call saw this, we had a missions campaign with our partner Syngenta Crop Protection. And so we fed a cadence of communications in advance of each mission throughout the season so that your retail team knew exactly what to expect with the platform and how to use it, but also what crop protection products are appropriate for the things that you might be seeing in season, and how to validate that you made the right recommendations and prove the efficacy of products. So that was just one way that we integrated a partner with a solution with Asmus Farm Supply.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm going to shift gears and go back to you, Michelle. I think in all of the questions you've answered, you've alluded to it, right? Communication and how you reach your growers. And I think you send a lot of communication throughout the year, not just about Taranis, but a lot of different things. Tell us about your communication strategy. What does it look like? And what kinds of tools do you use to engage with your customers?
So like I said earlier, we develop and are currently in the process of developing this draft content calendar. At the end of the year, that calendar looks nothing like what I have drafted. Agriculture just doesn't work that way. So you have to be flexible. As we go through, I'm often surprised by the analytics. Review your analytics and let that drive you to what you're going to do or what you're going to do next. Sometimes the analytics show me something that went well, and yeah, we're going to do that again. Sometimes it's not so great. If you send out an email and the open rate is really, really low, I'll follow that up with a text, just so that our customers are aware of what's going on. the value that we've seen in our messaging with Tyrannus and now Acre Protect is that we include it in all of our mass communications as well, our digital newsletters, our printed newsletters. That's gotten the program out there so that when customers become targeted based on their segmentation or their purchase history, they've already seen it and they're aware of it. It's not the first time they're seeing it. So your communication strategy kind of changes, and let your analytics drive what you're going to do. Don't try and estimate what's going to go best, because that never works.
I think that's a good piece of advice, right? Flexibility is really what I heard in that answer, and I think that that's key. I want to make sure that we've got time to touch on Loyal to the Leaf and get your perspective on that as well, Michelle. And I do have one wrap-up question for both you and Nate. But let's talk about Loyal to the Leaf. I'm gonna start with Sarah. And Sarah, can you tell us, right? We have these great backgrounds with Loyal to the Leaf up here. Can you tell everyone about the campaign called Loyal to the Leaf? What's it about?
Sure. So I know all of you on the call are looking for something concrete that you can take away today, and this starts now. So Loyal to the Leaf is our fall grower retention campaign. It's catchy and creative. There's nothing like it in the industry, and it has two parts to it. So we want to thank those growers who were with you through the season and who took advantage of leaf level insights. So we have kits and grower booklets. These booklets are personalized to their farm with an actual season review for that grower's fields. And then it also has the retailer's logo on it. So that is a way to look back at the season and plan for the next. And then the second part of that, on the back of every book and on flyers that we provide, all of you have access to a landing page where when they scan the QR code, the grower can go out and commit to the acres that they want to enroll for next season by December 31st. And when they do that, they get one of 3 incentives, and it's branded with the retailer's logo. So it's a really nice personal touch, and it's our way of helping you, our retail partners, do something fun and creative during the fall season to tie in with these insights.
Michelle, Asmus was the first retailer to have growers sign up through the campaign Loyal to the Leaf. How are you promoting it through your own channels, and how are you driving excitement amongst your growers for this?
So this was one of those things where, you were pleasantly surprised. Sarah created all their landing pages and that kind of information. As soon as she sent that over, we included that in our large digital newsletter that goes out weekly. And it was within 24 hours that we had somebody sign up, and the person that signed up was not somebody that I think any of us would have anticipated. So again, making sure that you're promoting things to your targeted customers that you really think will do it and join in the program, but also not eliminating those customers that are there to surprise you.
I think that's don't count anyone out, right? It's good to be surprised. It's good to be surprised. I want to throw out one more question to both you and Nate, and we can see who wants to answer first. Well, who wants to throw one or the other under the bus, right? As we kind of wrap up the strategic business planning and the marketing perspective, and you guys are clearly looking ahead to 2026, right? The retailers that win are the ones that are looking ahead to 2026. What's one piece of advice that you'd give today to organizations that are starting to build their plans with Tyrannus right now? What's your best piece of advice? Nate, let's start with you. You've been quiet for a while. I'll throw you under the bus.
Yeah, I would say don't think of Tyrannus as something you're selling to your customer. Think of it as something you're offering. You're offering the opportunity to have the best insights into that field all season long. And once you start doing that and realizing it's an offering to your customers, start thinking about how your products and services fit into that and how Tyrannus can help sell them, validate them, prove what you're doing is right.
Michelle?
I would say lean on your Tyrannus team for the marketing stuff, and you're developing your plans. They are great. If nothing else, they give you ideas, things that other people have done, maybe that wouldn't work perfectly for your organization, but that you could adopt and switch things out. So lean on them and bounce ideas off so that you're not starting from scratch. It's a lot easier to build off what somebody else has had success with. than trying to recreate the wheel.
I think that that's great advice. All right, I want to be respectful of time. We are going to talk about some key takeaways, right? Guys, if there's one thing I think that I want to leave you with today, it's these couple of things, right? Your takeaways. Start planning early. I heard that from Nate and Michelle. Stay aligned, again, from both of them, and tell a clear, consistent story. It's how you build programs that really retain acres, strengthen relationships, and ROI. We've talked a lot about ROI. These are the kinds of things that deliver the ROI that we talked about today. Because at the end of the day, what I heard from Michelle and what I heard from Nate, Tyrannus is a good scouting tool, but it's not just a scouting tool, right? It's ROI, it's profitability, and it's growth as you start planning for 2026. So maybe there's two things that I want you to take away from today, right? Those couple of things, but also as you guys start planning for 2026, I think Michelle said herself that she was very pleasantly surprised by some growers who were enrolling in Loyal to the Leaf, right? And it's not just for customers that you've had on the platform before. If you've got a brand new customer, that's okay too. Loyal to the Leaf was built with that exact same philosophy, right? Early enrollment, clear expectations, and a consistent path to ROI, not just for you guys as the retailers, but also for your growers. I think it's one more way that we can really help create structure, drive adoption, and reward growers for staying aligned with your program. I'm going to go ahead and throw up the QR code. I don't see any questions in the chat, but I do want to go back to, while the QR code is up and give everybody an opportunity to scan it. I'm going to go back to the first poll question, right? We talked about in the very beginning, and it's kind of why we're here today. As you're planning for 2026, how prepared do you guys feel to implement Tyrannus as part of that 2026 business plan? Okay. I got somewhat prepared. I don't have anybody that feels very prepared. Oh, I do. I do now. I do now. Okay. With a little bit all over the board, which is what I expected kind of at the beginning of the webinar. But again, I would offer, if you're feeling unprepared or not too sure about what's happening, I would ask, reach out to Sarah, reach out to your sales team, reach out to your customer success person like Carlene, reach out to myself. I've been having business planning conversations with customers and helping them understand, hey, here are some things that we could do. Let's just brainstorm and figure it out together. And then we pass the ball to Sarah, and Sarah creates the marketing material. And all of a sudden, these retailers are off to the races, and they're booking their acres, and it's like, oh, no problem. It was pretty good. So we'll end the poll. I'll share the results, and we'll wrap up here. You've got your CEU. We did a gift card drawing, or we've done a gift card drawing. We've got a couple of winners here. Let me go back to our winners here. I've got Carla O'Day from CHS. Thank you for joining. And I've got Jeff Chrissinger with New Way. Those are your gift card winners. We will get an Amazon gift card out to you guys today at the email address that you used to register. And really, I hope that you guys enjoyed today's session, had one or two takeaways from the session that are important and can take back to implement into your own business planning strategy over the coming weeks or the coming months. If you enjoyed today's session, we do have another session in the Ease of ROI webinar series on Thursday, December 11th. And this one is about, we're honing in here. It's about boosting crop protection sales and overall growth. How can Tyrannus help you do that? And we'll be joined with some guests from CPI for that webinar. And I think that that's going to be another really great session. I would also throw out, since we're retail focused here, for those of you attending ARA in the next few weeks, we're going to be there. Stop by and say hello to our team at the booth. We're going to be in booth 305. A very special thank you to our guests, Nate and Michelle. You guys did a wonderful job. Thank you so very much. To Carlene and Sarah, thank you. And to you, all of you guys, for joining us today. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and know that Tyrannus also wishes you a very happy Thanksgiving next week. I can't believe it's here already, but happy Thanksgiving to you all, and have a great day.